Good afternoon. My name's Adam Rustige, and I work on the energy engineer with Automatic Controls Equipment Systems, Inc. We are a contractor. We do work with building automation systems. The one we work with is called Automated Logic. So I'm specifically talking about a school district we've worked with. Part of it is something we've directly been involved with, but they also did some renewables, and I'm going to include in there that I feel like really shows the great work they're doing. So, yeah, it's Afton School District, their path to improved energy efficiency and renewable energy. Just a little bit of an overview of the district. They're in St. Louis County. They've been around since 1855. They're a small district, just 5 schools plus an admin building, and about around 480,000 square feet. So, as Malachi and the people before talked about, benchmarking is sort of step one when you're talking about energy efficiency. And that's what we did with this particular district. This was completed in 2019, so it was pre-COVID. A lot of this came from new leadership at the facility level within the district. And so they came from a different school district, and they just realized there were opportunities, and they took a much more aggressive approach to energy efficiency. So here are the 6 buildings that were benchmarked. And there's 3 things to look at when you're benchmarking, at least the information I'm providing. The EUI, I'm using dollars per square foot, and then the Energy Star score. So EUI is energy use intensity or index. It's kBTUs per square foot. If you've got electric over here, you're in kWh. You got gas, you're in therms. You got steam, you're in pounds of steam. So we're converting everything to kBTUs, and then we're putting it on a per square foot basis. So the smaller the number, the more efficient the building is. Dollars per square foot, pretty straightforward. And then, even if you work within the industry, sometimes, you can look at a number in a building and figure out, okay, that building's doing all right. But, the EPA developed Energy Star. Obviously, it gives you that score of 1 to 100. 100 means you're the best, but 1 means you're the worst. And, if you're a 50, you're a median. So you can see in this case, they're on the lower end. Early childhood centers don't allow for a score, but you can see they have a range from a 7 to a 53. So only one of their 5 buildings was actually above median. So it just said to us there's a lot of opportunity. So we specifically were involved in all the buildings. Not all of a new building automation system was installed in each of the buildings. There were, on top of that, some HVAC improvements. At the high school, they put in some new rooftop units, some new boilers, some variable frequency drives or VFDs. At the admin, similar, some VAV boxes, some VFDs, and some boilers. But in theory, most of the energy savings came from a building automation system improvement. So they was totally replacing what was there and installing new. And so it just shows that no matter how efficient your equipment is, if it's not ran well with a building automation system of some type, you're never able to optimize your building to peak performance. So I also wanted to mention that we did include CO2 sensors, which works for demand control ventilation. And what that helps you do is figure out exactly how much outdoor air you need. We all emit CO2, so there's sensors in the space that will look at what level there is and then adjust how much outdoor air is needed based on that information. So there's no reason to bring in a lot of outside air, which is expensive to condition if you don't need it. So first I'll give you an overview of the building automation system that they have, and then I'll talk about a little bit of the equipment. This is our system. So it'll start by, as I said, it's a pretty small district, but here are the 6 buildings in question. And then next, you'll look at each of the schools. And so what makes this, obviously I like our product because I work for it, but you can quickly look at the colors and see how comfortable people are. So green means, you're ideal. Yellow means, I'm colorblind, so I think it's yellow over there. It is, okay. It's a yellow means you're a little bit warm. Orange means you're a little bit warmer. And then red means you're really warm. And then light blue, dark blue, and red. So this is just a nice way, I've always say if you're not if you're doing energy efficiency and you're sacrificing comfort, you're not doing it correctly. If you're doing it, it's happening in the background and no one even knows it's taking place. So, and then lastly, within the building audit, this just shows you one piece of equipment, but you can see it, if this keeps you from having to go, you can troubleshoot issues and see how your equipment is working at the moment you're looking at it. This is all in real time. You'll see you got your blower here and you've got some kind of a DX coil, and just it shows you everything. So you can see exactly what this piece of equipment is doing right when you can pull it up. And you can pull it up on your computer, your phone, your tablet. It gives the people that do the work, your maintenance people, access to all this information, which really helps from a troubleshooting perspective. So a little bit of the equipment now that they replaced, this is a rooftop unit or an RTU. These are packaged. You kind of just take them, pop them on the roof, hook them up, and they can heat, they can cool, everything's right there. So it makes it a really, from an efficiency standpoint, they're not as good as others, but they've improved over time. And you see these all over the place because from a capital approach, they're probably the most effective way to provide heating and cooling into a larger building. Boilers, these are hot water boilers, similar over time. These also have gotten more efficient. And so that's another thing Afton did was they put in new boilers. You're just heating up hot water. There's still steam boilers out there, but over time, hot water has become pretty much the norm. Probably my favorite particular feature within the world of energy efficiency is the variable frequency drive, or a VFD. All it does is you can put it on a motor, and as it'll adjust the speed. And as you adjust the speed, you can save substantial energy. So if you run a VFD at 80%, you're only using half the energy. You cube whatever the percentage is, and that tells you how much power you're using. So, if you're at 50%, you only use 12.5% of the energy. So it allows for incredible energy savings. And it has other advantages as far as how it helps with the motor. You don't have to, it allow you to ramp the motor up slowly instead of just turning it on with like an inrush of current. So it has advantages there. And then lastly, the last thing they installed was variable air volume boxes. These allow some energy efficiency improvement, also comfort. You could install these for different spaces, and it gives the people more control. One stat would be controlled to this box, and then only that area would be controlled by it. So it allows people to, if you have 10 offices and you were to install 10 of these, every person would have their own level of control. So instead of having just one big unit to cover a whole floor, this gives everyone improved comfort and allows you to save a little. It definitely saves energy, but it also improves comfort. So after we got done, we worked with them for about 3 years, and I just want to give you the results. You can see this is the EUI, and you can see it went down from, I will say the ECC had some solar baked in here, so this isn't just efficiency, but you can see the savings ranged from an 80% to the low of 38. So pretty significant energy savings, and you can see the scores went up from a 7 to a 78, and even the school that was the best, which is Gotch, which was a 53, it's now a 90. So a pretty dramatic, or very dramatic energy savings, large increases in Energy Star scores. And the results of first year of savings, they all didn't get finished at the same time. So I sort of combined all the first year savings, was almost $390,000. We were able to get him a lot of incentives for the projects, $423,000. And I'm concentrating more on the building automation system. So the payback was 2.3 years. So, the district to date has saved $1 million, and overall their energy reduction was 45%. So, and one thing I forgot to put in here, but that's really important, is they track their utility bills on an ongoing basis. That's why we're able to know how well their savings is doing, and just how important that is. If you finish a building and then you just don't see how well it's doing from an energy perspective, the odds are your energy use is going to go back up. I know there's studies that have shown if you do a retro commissioning project, after 5 years, you tend to give all that savings back. So tracking your utility bills on a monthly basis is really, really, really important. It shows the savings, so you're able to tell the story, but it's also a great hedge to make sure you're not going to lose all the savings you achieved. And on top of that, and I wasn't involved with the solar, but I really want to talk about they did the reason you want to start with efficiency, it gives you the best payback. Typically, efficiency you do first, then, hey, I've got a smaller carbon footprint, I'm using less energy. Now you put in solar, and it's going to have even a more profound effect. So the district has done it, in my opinion, the exact way you'd want to do it. So they've already installed 325 kW. They're getting ready to install another 225 for a total of 550 kW. So one little thing that's interesting, right here on the Early Childhood Center, they installed 100. And we were able to get a rate change from Ameren from a 3M to a 2M. We didn't, it ended up bumping back up, and they took it back to a 3M. This will allow the district to go from a 3M to a 2M. All that does is save money. It doesn't help from a carbon footprint, but they're going to save multiple thousands of dollars a year just from switching rates. So as I said, the total is 550 kW. That's going to about 742,500 kWh annually. And if you took their current energy use after the improvements, the solar is going to reduce that by 27%. So it's a profound effect. And benchmarking, you can see here, they had 3,000. I don't do a lot with greenhouse gases, so but they had, based on the calculator I could find, 3,580 metric tons of CO2 equivalent. After the solar is completed, that number is going to be 1,368. So that's going to be a reduction of 62%. Their carbon footprint reduced by 62%. And if you're like me, you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? I found, that's the equivalent of 288 houses' annual energy use. So that just gives you a kind of an idea of how much, 2,212 metric tons of CO2 less there is. So that's it for me.